So my overall impression of the book, it's taking too long to read, and all that. I have basic ideas on how you behave or how you deal with anything is up to you, and that's going to define who you are and who you will be.
Yeah, very empowering, isn't it? That you have the power. You're in control. It's not the outside.
Yeah, you're in control of yourself, and no one else is going to define your path. How you want to define it is up to you.
Exactly. You can't definitely can't always have control about what's going on around you, but you always have control about what's happening in your mind and the way you're viewing things and the way you're reacting things, right?
Yeah, and I believe it's up to you, like your belief, your viewpoint, the way you think, you can really change the life you would like to lead. If you have a positive belief, positive mindset towards anything, then you work towards that hard, and sooner or later you achieve that. But if you think that you cannot do that, then at that point we block our minds, and we eventually we see that we don't achieve that, because that's how we think. So having a positive viewpoint is really important in order to achieve something, in order to gain something. That's what I feel from this book, and which is true. And I personally believe whatever I think about, like whenever I think of getting something, like when I'm determined, I get that. But if I'm not determined to get that, then sometimes I don't get that thing. So I personally believe that it's really true. Yeah, it's true.
Excellent. Thanks, Nikita. Anyone else? All right. Now, I know someone else is here, but your video and the name isn't showing up. So we have Nawa, Nikita, Carmen. Nawa, Nikita, Carmen, and then someone else. Is there someone else there?
Morsel, I believe.
Oh, Morsel. Okay, your name's not showing up anymore. Okay, so Morsel. Okay. All right. Well, good. Let's go ahead and let me do this. When I'm in full screen mode, I can't kind of scroll between all the videos and see who's here. So you kind of do have to just speak up when you have something to say. I'll present a question, and you might have to just kind of speak up to let me know that you have something to say. Okay. I'll do my best to call on you, but okay. Here's a vocabulary word to start us off. So introspection. Introspection. Does anybody know what introspection means?
Yeah, Nikita, can you see me? Can you see us?
Yeah, so I can see you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So introspection is to, let's say, I sometimes do introspection at the end of the day when I see what I have done throughout the day. And I just jot down my positive points and, what are the things that I did wrong or I could have improved. So introspection is something where we see ourselves, what we have done and what, went wrong and how we can improve upon that.
Yeah.
So it's into checking ourselves, self-checking, I would say, looking into yourself thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a very human quality or ability that we have. Is to be able. So the definition is the examination of one's own mental and emotional processes. Okay, so it's the ability to think about what we are thinking. Okay, so you're evaluating. You're coming back and thinking about what happened during the day. How did I feel? How was I thinking about things? And so it's that process of thinking about the way we think. And it's very much that mindfulness that happens, that we can have as human beings. I think a lot of times we just kind of roll with life and we don't take the time to think about why we're doing the things we do, or what caused us to react that way, and taking a step back and thinking about it. And that's what I like about this book, is that it causes you to step back and think about the way we're thinking and how it affects our actions and our reactions to things. All right, go ahead.
Now, Eddie, I have a question. Can we see this PowerPoint slide later? Like, can we have access to this later?
So we have, with the Pronunciation Pro Book Club, so I'm recording this and then I post it to the website, the Pronunciation Pro website.
Okay.
So the whole recording is there. I can get the PowerPoint posted there, or a link to the PowerPoint if you'd like that as well.
That's okay. It would be there in that recording, right?
Yeah, it will.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, so in the book, they had this little mindset quiz. Okay, so we're going to go through this little mindset quiz with everyone. And I want you to think about, here, I'm going to have to move my video over. Okay, so I am going to go through this quiz and I want you to say true or false, or no, in your kind of note to yourself, true or false, as we read through these. Says your intelligence is something very basic about you and can't change. Let's see, sorry, can't see all the words here. Okay, your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. Okay, so think to yourself, true or false, whether you believe this is true or false. You can learn new, no one knows. Okay, so we'll go through, so think to yourself through this, and then afterwards we'll go through kind of what your mindset is. Okay, so this is kind of trying to decide, are we a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Okay, so number 2, you can learn new things, but you can't really change how intelligent you are. All right, number 3, no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. And number 4 seems like exactly the same thing, so I don't know what difference is here, but you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. Okay, so that's what we have with, let me get here. Okay, so here's another set. It says so true or false, kind of think to yourself, you are a certain kind of person and there is not much that can be done to really change that. No matter what kind of person you are, you can always change substantially. You can do things differently, but the important parts of you are, I typo here. The important parts of you can't really be changed. Number 4, you can always change basic things about the kind of person you are. Okay, did you guys come up with your responses there? Okay, according to these, and I'll go over here. I have the, so if the growth mindset is if it's true, if these 2 are true, no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit, and you can always change basically the same thing. So did you guys kind of find that you were more in the growth mindset or the fixed mindset?
Growth.
Given growth, okay. Given the fact that you guys are here, I'm assuming you're a growth mindseted person. Because you're here and wanting to grow and learn. So here are the growth mindset answers here. So true, if no matter what kind of person you are, you can always change substantially. And you can always change basic things about the kind of person you are.
You are, right.
All right, so it doesn't surprise me that we have a bunch of growth mindset people here, and that's the kind of your view of thought. So one thing that I was surprised at when I read this book, I was like, oh yeah, I'm growth. mindset. And then as I went through, I realized, oh, I have a little bit of fixed mindset too. Did you guys have that
Yes, yes,
experience?
yes, I do. I do have some. The way I sometimes I speak to my kids, it's fixed mindset, which I realized after reading this book, like parenting part, that the way I talk to them, it shows that fixed mindset. So I need to change my way of communicating and conversating with them.
I noticed the same thing with my parenting too, is that there were a few things I was saying that I was like, oh shoot, I'm cultivating a fixed mindset here.
Yes.
What about you, Nawa?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's where I talk more. That's where I feel like, oh crap, I'm really not a growth mindset, it's more of a fixed mindset, and we are cultivating these craps that really we should not be in order to make them better. It's the parenting is probably where it hits me the hard. Plus, when I also read maybe chapter 5 or 6 about the leadership and all that, that's where also I kind of find out, yeah, maybe I'm somewhere in between, but it's really not one way or other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good. Yeah. And it's interesting because she in the book, she gives so many different examples that you can see yourself in a lot of these examples. And that's why I like how in depth she goes with all these different case studies or examples of the situation, because you might not see yourself in this situation, but oh my goodness, I saw myself in these other situations. What about Marcel or Carmen?
I'm something in between.
Okay. So you haven't, yeah. So I think that's what we're all discovering as we went through this book, is we might initially think, oh yeah, it's obvious I'm a growth, I believe I can change and things like that. But then as we go along, it's like, oh, wow, maybe I'm not completely one way or another. And I think it is more of a fixed mindset if you think, oh, I've got it figured out, right? You go, I've already got this figured out. Then that's that warped perception that we probably have of ourselves.
Yeah, and at the same time, what I'm thinking as well is the way I grew up, right? I did not grow up in US. I grew up back in Nepal. Our culture is totally different on parenting and all that. So that culture, the way I grew up, I saw that firsthand, right? That is the set I have seen, and that's probably the way I try to implement more than not knowing the real way of handling or parenting kids in the way we usually do here in US, right? So that the cultural difference we are facing, and that's putting a little bit of strain on that. But other than that, those parts may be part of the cultural difference, but still not being able to grab what's right definitely puts us in the wrong place.
I like that. I like how you pull in the cultural differences, because a lot of you have kind of changed, either moved to the United States or have had that cultural change, and recognizing there are parts of the way I was raised that we want to hold on to, and we want to, keep there, because they're, they do develop that growth mindset, but then maybe some of the others that are more of a fixed mindset that we need to kind of.
Yeah, one example I like to share is when I first took my kid to maybe his kindergarten orientation or something. I talked to the teacher after orientation, and I asked her clearly, hey, Miss Kim, you saw him, okay? He's not going to play football or basketball in the future. The only thing he can do is go to the college and get a good job in the future and have his life settled. So that's where, if you press him towards the academics more, I will not mind. That's what I said. I definitely said that because I know I'm not really in the position to kind of, hey, is there an alternative to that?
Okay. So you had kind of decided what boxes or what thing, what areas to put him in. Yeah. And I think we do that a lot as parents, is we kind of take what we do and we put that on our children, like, well, then they do that too. Or they're either really smart, or they're athletic, or they're a singer, or they're an artist, because what we do as parents, whereas we have to realize they're their own individual and they're going to discover talents and abilities and have interests and passions in other things that maybe we aren't, we don't identify ourselves as.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just gonna briefly kind of go through some of the information on the in the book about fixed mindset and growth mindset. So we all kind of are talking about the same thing. So a fixed mindset talks about our qualities are carved in stone, so they're unchangeable. It's just we are the way we are. If we have a high IQ, at one point we took an IQ test and we had a high IQ, then we are smart. But if we had a low IQ at that point, then we are not, and so it's just this fixed characteristic of ourselves. So it could be that we're smart or dumb, talented, funny, boring, artistic, athletic, musical, outgoing, shy. I mean, whatever it is that we have dubbed ourselves as, that's the way we kind of see ourselves, and we're not going to be changing that. So what happens in a fixed mindset is it creates an urgency to prove ourselves over and over again, okay? We have to kind of prove that we're smart, or prove that we're funny. We have to prove that we're artistic, and there's just this constant need to prove ourselves. So the questions that kind of come up in fixed mindset is, will I succeed or fail? It's kind of either one or the other. There's not any kind of spectrum of learning or growth in between. Will I look dumb or smart? Okay, if I do this and I fail, then I'm going to look dumb. But if I do it and and I succeed, then I'm smart. Will I feel like a winner or a loser? That's kind of that fixed mindset that's experienced there. In a fixed mindset, we tend to be super sensitive about being wrong or making mistakes. Okay. So the first time I went through this, I recognized some areas of this, but I really saw actually my husband in a lot of this, and he saw himself in a lot of this book too, is that he grew up, he was labeled as the smart one, and he's very, very smart, and things came very quickly to him, and he was dubbed as smart. He goes back and he says that there was a mental math competition in his school, and it was like 5th grade or something like that. And he won it for his school, and he had a chance to go to a then regional competition, or, some kind of bigger competition. And he passed up that experience. He said he didn't want to do it because he did not want to fail. He wanted to keep that status as the best. He wanted to be the best, and he didn't want anything to jeopardize that. And if he went and he tried, but then he didn't win it, then it would bump him off of that status that he had in his head. Have you guys ever experienced that or seen that in people that you know?
Yes, I have observed in my younger son, and he's very sincere, very religious towards his work, but he does things correctly, and he becomes very sensitive. The last sentence says that super sensitive about being wrong. So sometimes he says not, he always asks me how to do this and that. He never wants to try himself. So he wants to be on safer side. He always comes to me and asks me, Mom, how I can do this? Tell me, like, what should I write it here? I say, use your own mind. First, you try yourself. If you're not able to do it, then I'm here to help you. Yeah. But first, you give your own try. So he wants to be on, good books in his, in his ma'am's viewpoint that he always does things right. So I say, no, you use your imagination, use your thought process, and do the way you want to do. And then later, let her see, how you are.
Mm-hmm.
he also has that fixed mindset, I feel.
Mhm.
So which I need to, work on him with him.
That's what's so powerful about this book is then you kind of have strategies from that parenting section, that
Yes,
strategies of how can you kind of develop more of that growth mindset.
correct.
I noticed this in my son too, and we started because he's a big reader and he would want to be praised for how much he was reading and how fast he was reading, and we picked up on this. We realized that he was looking for that validation, he was looking for that recognition over and over again.
Yes,
And so we started just talking about, well, what are you learning? Tell us what you're learning from the books, and how, and change the way that we weren't praising him for how fast he was reading. We were recognizing all the learning that he's doing, and wanted to help that. So it does kind of help you to reshape the way we talk to our kids.
yes, that's really
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly the thing, and it happens with my kid. That's what he does. He always kind of want to be the winner, right?
Mhm.
Always be in the first place.
Yeah.
Finish those books. If a teacher gave her a log chart or anything, he wants to be the one to fill that up first, turn it in, that kind of thing. But even before reading this book, I kind of I probably discussed this in our last book club as well. It's mainly the idea of failure is an option,
Mhm.
but giving up is not. That is the idea. That is the motto I try to implement more often than anything else. Saying,
Mhm.
hey, if you fail, okay, no problem.
Mhm.
You give up, then problem starts right there. I
Yes.
don't mind if you score 10, 20, 30, 40, or 100. But if you stop working on it because you score 10 or 20 or 30 or 40, the score you don't like, then you are really failing. If
Mhm.
you redo it again, if you go back and do it again and do better, then you are not failing. You are learning.
Yes. Yes. That celebrating failure is just like, yes, it means that you tried.
Yes,
It means you tried, and that's awesome. And what did you learn from that? Okay. How can we, how can we then learn and change so that we can improve based on
Yeah,
that?
one day I think it might be a little out of the subject, but I was trying to find, how I can put him. That feel is not just saying myself, and there is anything else I can show him or let him listen or read it. I find out a, a YouTube video somewhere. It's
Mhm.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
He was sometime, I don't know when it was, he was in some of the radio program, and it just, I think it's on the NPR,
Mhm.
uh, one of the radio program where they quiz you and, getting through different process. And he only answered one right answer out of three.
Okay.
At the end, the radio host would ask him, hey, we already know you are a renowned astrophysicist. No one needs your introduction, you all that. But what did you learn from this program? He answered, I learned two things. I did not answer two questions correctly. These are the things I learned.
right.
Benefit of me on this program today. Once
Interesting.
I introduced that concept to my son, he realized more than what I was kind of telling him 100 times. Hey, this is all it is. But then I relate that to, hey, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he is one of the most renowned and talented astrophysicists in this world right now.
Mhm.
He is learning. The learning is not a problem.
Mhm.
He did not regret. He didn't say, hey, I failed, but he said, I learned.
Mhm.
That's where he grasped those ideas, and it's been much more easier for me to kind of explain him when he gets frustrated because he did not score perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Using those examples, because when you do look into people who have been very successful, you realize most of them have this growth mindset. And the reason they got to that level or they became the best is because of their growth mindset, because they were not scared of failing, that they failed over and over and over again. And they kept learning from those failures, and they kept growing from them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any thoughts, Carmen?
Well, first I missed the first part because I was having some internet connection issues, so I had to restart over the whole system. What I think is, as a child, as you grow up, you have to learn and you have to experience that you can change your own mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of me, I was a kid. I really wanted to learn everything and to move on. But being a kid like this, you run into some issues with your classmates. They didn't understand what I was fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
So I was afraid of explaining myself to show that I really want to move on, and that led to a status that I became afraid of telling people what I know. So I kind of got stuck in a, let's say, in an artificial fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, gaining confidence in what I was doing, having success in my profession, that led to my original thinking, having a growth mindset. So I think every person has to find its way and has to work through their personality.
Yes.
So this is my experience from my 50-year-old life.
Yes. And it's a progression, right? And we're never, as we see life that way, that there's a progression, and we can look back and see the growth and the development and the way our mindsets have changed and how experiences change those mindsets. And yeah, absolutely, that there's confidence that's gained in certain areas, and then that confidence overflows, and you realize, okay, I can do these things, and some of this fixed mindset that I had before, I don't need to have that anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good. Morsal, any thoughts?
I don't have any children, but my little brother hated to lose a game, for example, and he always is saying, yes, I'm a loser or something like this. And yeah, that's a fixed mindset, I think.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. When we label ourselves as something, I am a loser, or I am a failure, or I am, that's a fixed thing. I am something, instead of, oh, I failed, or oh, I lost.
Yes. He's only 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
As I always say, that's not true. You can learn from failure, and yes.
Excellent. I love how you're already kind of helping reshape his little mind. Because I think that, some of those patterns definitely get in our brains at an early age, and you can change later, but it's always early, always easier to get that growth if we got that growth mindset early on. And as we can help other kids and other our children or other kids, brothers and sisters, kind of experience that at a young age, the better. All right, excellent. Okay, so let me go ahead into the growth mindset is, let's see. Your basic qualities are things you can cultivate through effort, strategies, and help from others. Okay, so this is a growth mindset. The natural talents you're given are a starting point for development. Okay, so that's your starting point. I'm getting a little feedback from someone's microphone, is it? Let's see. Okay, another point is, so the attitude is more, the challenge is fun. The bigger the challenge, the more we stretch, right? The more I stretch. What can I learn from this experience? Or failure, like we were talking about, you know, that now I was talking about, it's not necessarily the failure that has to define us, it's the learning process. What can I experience, what can I learn from this experience? And if I'm not learning and growing, then what's the point? That's kind of that growth mindset. It's like, it's not very challenging. It's not very fun. If it's not very challenging, it's not very fun. Okay, let's see. All right, let's keep kind of moving along here. I think I did see that Radwan joined us. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let's get this technical working for us here. Oh, okay. So one thing that they talk about a lot in the book is potential, and how someone's capacity. Sorry, I'm getting a little feedback. Are you guys hearing kind of that feedback in the microphone?
Yes, I'm hearing too.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here. You getting the feedback now? A little bit. All right, Radwan, welcome.
Hey.
Okay. Did you have a chance to read the book, Radwan?
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I couldn't finish the book from the beginning to the start, but to the end. But I could read some few pages. Just like I reached almost 90 pages, but I couldn't finish it. It's really lengthy, and it was talking about very important things. I don't want to rush through it, so I just stopped there.
Yeah, no problem. So we're kind of going through, pulling out some different points and discussing. So jump in as you have some things to say, okay?
Sure.
All right, good. Okay, so we, with the growth mindset, we talk a lot about potential. And actually, so I had talked about my husband and kind of how he grew up a little bit more in this fixed mindset, and that he had to, later on, kind of readjust that thinking pattern. And the word potential to him was always a really bad word, because he very often was told that he has great potential. And as he grew up, he had a hard time realizing that potential, because he had such a fixed mindset that he wasn't open to that growth and learning process. He was scared of failing, and he was scared of the fact that he might not be seen as, you know, as brilliant or intelligent or whatever. And so that potential, he kept being told, you have such great potential, but then he had a hard time really reaching that potential until later in his adult life. So potential, if we have a growth mindset, can be a very positive thing, right? It can be more of a positive thing. If you have more of a fixed mindset, sometimes it is seen a little bit more negatively, but we can change that mindset, right? So potential is someone's capacity to develop their skills and skills through effort and coaching over time. A person's true potential is unknown and unknowable, and it's impossible to foresee what can be accomplished with years of passion, toil, and training. So really that growth mindset is saying, okay, what can we really accomplish if we have this growth mindset? Well, nobody can really tell you that. Nobody can really say what you can or can't do, what your potential is or isn't. And I love that nobody can put that limit on me or on you or on any of us. It's unknowable. It's based on what our passion and what our work and what our training and our experiences afford us. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
Well, I do think this is true. And what people do, they take basically the term natural talent for potential, and this leads to misunderstandings and wrong from wrong thinking. So I think natural talent is in your genes, and potential is exactly what is written down here. It is based on your natural talent, but with your own willing to make efforts, you can grow and develop or get better in any venue you pick up.
Right. Yeah, I like how you kind of compare the natural talent with kind of what your natural talent is. Yeah, we may be born with natural talents or gifts or abilities, but that's not our potential.
Yeah, let's take a long distance runner.
Yeah.
You can have natural talent right from your genes, but if you are lazy over the years, you will not feel full. You cannot reach higher levels if you don't have as much natural talent, but you are willing to work for it. You will reach higher goals. That's what I truly believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's interesting because my husband and I kind of contrast. He has a lot of natural gifts and talents and abilities that he was born with. I grew up very average. I was a very average student, actually probably below average. And I had to work so much harder than most people to be able to get the grades and get, and be able to achieve what I needed to achieve. And for such a long time, I saw that as such a disadvantage to think, oh man, I just wasn't born to, I wasn't born with these natural gifts and the talents like so many of my classmates had. But then later on, I realized, actually, that was a benefit to me because I learned how to work. I learned how to improve. I learned that through my efforts, I could accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. It might take me a lot longer than some of my naturally gifted peers, but if I put in the work, I could probably get there. Anybody have any kind of similar experiences?
Yeah, I also believe the same, and even I'm to an average, average student, and but I feel that I'm quite sincere and I put in efforts in what I do. So because of that, I try to reach to next level. And I'll give you my instant. Initially, I was very hesitant to speak in public, and later I started working on this and worked hard to overcome this phobia of speaking in public. And now I feel that though I've not reached the top level, but I have come to the midway. So if I continue putting my efforts that way, certainly I may reach to that level too.
Yeah, so, excellent.
Yeah, that I believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Anyone else?
I think that there aren't any limits, but many people want to set limits in your and say that you can't do something. And yes, I think that's not good.
Yes, and you actually bring up a point that kind of I did a slide on later on, but I think we should kind of jump to it now about kind of labels and stereotypes. Okay. And so the book talks about kind of labels and stereotypes that are put on us through people around us, and that those tend to create a very fixed mindset. Have you guys experienced much of that? How labels and stereotypes can kind of establish that, like, oh, well, I can't do that because I am this.
Sometimes we get carried away by the people around us. If they say, no, you are not good at this, you cannot do this. So sometimes we feel that, oh, maybe really, but after reading all these books, I think we should not listen. If something negative is coming on our way, we should think what better we can do to move to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Radwan, I'm going to kick you out again if you're messing around.
Okay.
Behave. All right. Yes, let's see. Yeah, it really can set up that fixed mindset, that limiting mindset for us. So I have one experience recently. This is such a silly example, but it really was profound in my mind, because my family, so I have 4 little boys and my husband, and we were asked to sing in our church congregation, like in front of our church congregation. So there were about 200 or 300 people in this congregation, and we were asked to sing a song during it. And my initial reaction, I just laughed. I said, well, I'm not a singer. And the person said, well, your kids are. I've heard them sing, and they're really good singers. It kind of caused me to sit back and think, okay, why do I think I'm not a singer, and why we're not singers? Yes, my kids absolutely love to sing, and they're really good at it. And then I started questioning myself, and just like, well, I know how to sing, I don't see myself as a singer. I've labeled myself as a non-singer. I had put that own label on myself, or maybe I had an experience growing up that made me feel like I wasn't a good singer or something. And so it really had me step back and second guess myself. Now, this experience, it terrified both me and my husband, because we don't see ourselves as singers, and we didn't want to get up in front of this congregation and sing. But my kids, they saw themselves as singers. They had all the confidence that they could go up and they could sing very well. And so they were the one pushing us. And it was the funniest situation, because it was such a role reversal where the kids were kind of coaching us, my husband and I, and helping us feel like, okay, we can do this. It's fine. We can do this. And so we were practicing, and it was comical, because my husband and I got up there and we are terrified, but my kids are as confident as can be that they are going to do great. And we ended up doing fine. Everybody lived through the experience. But it was a good experience of like, okay, I have labeled myself in a certain way. I've put myself in a box, and therefore I'm putting my kids in that box too. I need to step back and reevaluate why I think that I am that way or not that way, and change that.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any kind of experiences where they had to like question some of those labels or those stereotypes?
I do have a thought on this.
Go ahead, Carmen.
I believe in your example about the singer, I believe everybody has the potential or the natural gift to doing something. But if you don't like it, you put yourself in the box of that fixed mindset. So if you don't practice, or if you don't keep practicing singing over a very long time, you truly believe, okay, I'm not a good singer. But the kids are young, and it's human nature to being good at everything you do at a very young age, and probably they got encouraged by other people. So
yeah,
they try to get you back in the boat, being a good singer. So
Yes.
It's just experience, and there's things in life you like, there's things in life you don't like, and those things you put kind of behind of you, and you don't focus on it, and then you come to the belief, I cannot do that very well.
And the more you like something, the more you're going to want to practice it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have some thoughts? All right. So the growth, here we're talking about stereotypes. Here, go ahead. I think I realized whenever Carmen speaks, then afterwards my microphone doesn't work, but Nawa, go ahead and speak real quick. Nawa, yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so now I think my microphone will behave. I don't know what it is. There's some, maybe that's not it, but we'll keep trying. Okay, so it says, now actually go ahead and read this paragraph for me.
The growth mindset lets people, even those who are targets of negative labels, use and develop their minds fully. Their heads are not filled with limiting thoughts, a fragile sense of belonging, and a belief that other people can define them.
Yeah, so that I love that last line where it says a belief that other people can define them. So we question that ability for other people to define us. You know, we don't allow, in the growth mindset, we don't allow others to define what we are and who we are. And I think there's something very, very powerful in that, is taking the power away from people around us and the feedback that they're giving us, and taking it back to ourselves and say, what do I say about me? What do I believe about me? And having more of that growth mindset of not allowing others to define us.
I think sometimes it's hard.
Yes.
When everyone is saying the same thing.
No, I think it's very, very difficult, especially when you get in your mind that you know, someone has told you enough, or you've gotten enough feedback that you are a certain way, to not give into that belief. Yeah, absolutely. But I think that that's the challenge here, is we can either stay in that mindset and keep believing that, no, we can't be a certain way, or we can't improve, or we can't do better, or we are a certain way. We can continue to stay in that, or we can choose growth. We can choose, you know, we can choose our mindset in that way, and it puts more control in our own pockets, if you will. All right, good. Okay, so I actually am going to put the slides on the website as well, because I know that we're not going to get through a lot of these, and I went through. So I went through and, oh, one thing I should say, there were 2 suggestions of movies in this book, and both of them I love. I love these two movies. Has anybody seen these 2 movies?
No.
No.
Okay, so they're not very well-known movies, so I would, like, I'm not surprised that you haven't seen them before. But Seabiscuit is talking about someone who had a very, who wasn't very talented, but through their effort was able to do extraordinary things. Both a horse, you know, it was horse racing. The horse was born with certain defects, and the writer also wasn't dubbed as a very talented writer. And actually, the woman who wrote the book that this movie was based on, she also had her own challenges that she kind of overcame in writing this book. So it's a really interesting story of just the underdog, or someone who is not someone who is not supposed to be a winner who went on to do extraordinary things. So that's a good movie. This one, Groundhog's Day. Actually, tomorrow is Groundhog's Day. It's a very, very silly holiday in the United States. Not really a holiday, I guess, but has anybody heard of Groundhog Day?
No, no. It's the first time.
Maybe not the police story, but I heard about, how long the shadow will be, and then based on the length of the shadow, you will determine how long the winter will last, right?
Yes, yes. So it's a very silly kind of superstitious holiday, and it's not like we get out and off of work or anything, but it's just a silly thing that happens in the United States. There's a movie called Groundhog's Day. It has very little to do with actual Groundhog's Day, but has a lot to do with changing from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So if you have a chance to watch this movie, it's actually really quite fun. We usually watch it on Groundhog's Day every year. So it's one of those really feel-good movies.
I like that.
Yeah, so those are some book recommendations from Carol Dweck and me. All right, so let's go ahead and move on a little bit. Like I said, I will post these slides because I think that Carol, she goes through different questions and answers about a fixed and a growth mindset that are really quite interesting to kind of dive into. That you can kind of go through the slides and look at those as you're able. But let's kind of look at, so there were 4 areas of the book. There was talking about kind of sports and the mindsets of champions. There was business, and Nawa, you had said that the business one part helped you quite a bit.
Yep.
Carmen, will you go ahead and read here under business where it says, do you feel people?
Our business, mindset, and leadership. Do you feel people are just judging you, or are they helping you develop? Maybe you could try making it a more growth minded place, starting with yourself. Less defensive about mistakes. Profit more from feedback, create more learning experiences for self.
Mm-hmm. So this part, basically in the book, at the end of each of these sections, and let me kind of just show here on the video, at the end of these different sections, there's a grayed out box area. And it's worth, especially if you kind of have the book and you can kind of flip through it, it's worth going to those sections of the book where it has the grayed out area and just do a little self-assessment, because they go through some of these, it's kind of a summary of the chapter, and then it goes through these questions that kind of help you, identify, am I in a fixed mindset or am I in a growth mindset when it comes to these different areas? So with sports and, mindsets of champions, business and leadership. So some of the questions in the business part is, do you feel people are judging you, or are they helping you develop? Okay, so in your work setting, are you feeling judgment, or are you feeling like they are helping you develop? If you're feeling judgment, you might be more in that fixed mindset where you're kind of sensitive or overly sensitive to criticism or feedback or failures or things like that, where you might just need to have more of a growth mindset and say, okay, feedback is a way of telling me that, showing me a way I can improve. It's an opportunity to improve that can benefit me as I take that feedback, and as I can use that feedback to improve, it will help me in my career. Okay, so that is something that, in some areas you might have growth mindset, but in other areas you might have a little bit more of a fixed mindset and need to self-assess there.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. The other is in relationships. Okay, this was one interesting one. This is part of where I saw a little bit more of fixed mindset as well in myself. one part, and Nikita, maybe you can read this one for us.
Relationships, mindset and love or not. Are you shy? Then you really need the growth mindset. Even if it doesn't cure your shyness, it will help keep it from messing up your social interactions. Next time you're venturing into a social situation, think about these things. How social skills are things you can improve, and how social interactions are for learning and enjoyment, not judgment. Keep practicing this.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was so interesting because I think for me, kind of who you are socially and how you interact socially, I didn't really see that as a skill that can be developed. Am I alone in this, or have you guys, what have your guys' thoughts been about social interactions?
Yeah, even I feel that sometimes I get shy when I talk in groups, and even I feel so that I need to improve upon that, and so I have to keep. Sometimes I just cautiously talk so that I keep that momentum on while talking to others, and
yeah, and I like this part where it says. Let's see, that our think about these things. How social skills are things that you can improve. Okay, so we can improve our social skills, and how social interactions are more for learning and enjoyment, not judgment. How often do we go into a social environment and feel like this, I'm judging them or they're judging us, and we feel very self-conscious?
Yes, that's true. And because of that, we mess up with everything.
Yes.
Yes,
and we're a lot more stiff or reserved or not, not truly ourselves.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Exactly. It just again, I'm not very good at socializing, or maybe just say introducing myself at first. Once I introduced, or once someone introduced me, I'm okay. I can chat with people for hours and hours, even though it's something I know nothing. I can talk about it and go with that flow. But going that and introducing myself to begin with is, I feel like, they are not maybe wanting to talk. They may be discussing there's something different thing, not that kind of thing. That usually come to my mind, but nowadays I'm more, doesn't matter. I would just say, hey, just start a quick conversation. If that leads to something, that's fine. If they are in something else, then the conversation will end quick.
Yes.
The second part of that is being able or not being able to carry over those short conversations. Again, there are certain things you can, I think we can carry over to begin with. Maybe I can talk about weather or maybe the sports or something before getting into those specifics of the events or specific of the circumstances. But afterwards, after reading these books and maybe trying to turn myself around, nowadays I'm feeling more comfortable on those kind of things.
That's awesome. Yeah, I felt the same way. As after reading this book, I started being more introspective of the way that I'm thinking during social interactions, because sometimes I do get shy, and sometimes I do kind of tend to, keep to myself, and it did cause me to kind of recognize that in myself. And there were several situations where I recognized it during a social situation and decided to change it. So I decided that, okay, I don't want to feel self-conscious. I want to go in and learn and enjoy these other people and make sure that this is a positive experience for not only myself, but for those who are there with me.
nowadays, and I kind of really try to ignore is a positive or negative. I'm simply going try to say hello, to begin with. That was my problem. I was kind of, I would probably stay alone, maybe at a corner for 15 minutes in a break of any conferences or anything, and rather than going to introducing a couple of friends here and there, if no one comes to introduce myself. But nowadays, I'm not going to care about it's a positive or a negative feel, but I'm going to simply say, hey, hello, how are you? Or just introduce yourself. Maybe start the process. If that process works, if it lasts for maybe for that break, that's fine. If not, it's okay. Nothing happened.
Right.
That's my. I changed my approach from being waiting for someone to introduce to me. And now I'm positive or negative. I would go introduce. If it works, if it lasts, that's fine. If not, that's fine.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that mindset. Oh, what I was going to say. I think that for the, oh, I lost it. Anybody else have any thoughts? Okay. All right. Well, good. And I think that's something, oh, I know what I was going to say. With a lot of our students here at Pronunciation Pro, because English is a second language and because there is a little bit of uncertainty about pronunciation and how we're saying things, social interactions, we can put ourselves more in a fixed mindset because of those things. And especially in social interactions or in, work settings, things like that, we might be more self-conscious or feel like people might be judging us because of, because of our English or things like that. And I think that's especially important for our students to kind of check themselves on that and say, okay, is this judgment coming from me or is it really, coming from them? And even if it is coming from them, I'm not going to let other people's beliefs or stereotypes or, whatever affect the way that I interact with others. I'm going to enjoy this experience. I'm going to learn. And the more you speak and the more you talk in English, the better you get, right? And the more comfortable you get because you've had that practice. And as we have that experience of practice and having positive experiences, and as you go through the Pronunciation Pro course and you're learning new skills and then you go and you practice those, if you have a fixed mindset, you're not going to want to practice, right? You're not going to want to speak up until you have it 100% perfect. But that's not going to happen until you practice and you try it out. Okay?
Or you don't care what people think about your pronunciation in your second language.
Yes. Yeah. And if you don't care, then that's...
For example, which is true for my husband. He's been living in the United States since 2009. And up to the end of last year, he did not care about his grammar in English, about his sentence order, intonation. He let aside pronunciation. He just kept talking, and he did not realize, okay, Americans are trying to be nice, and they keep listening for a while, and then they move on, and they don't listen anymore. So it took him some effort to realize, okay, I have to improve everything about my English.
Oh, there you go.
So this is the difference. He's kind of in his fixed mindset. Okay, I don't care if people understand me. I keep talking. And I'm more the perfectionist, so I really want to improve my skills. So and now I'm in the boat. People socialize, and I'm not an open-minded person. So back in my own country, in my home country, I did not socialize, but having lived in the United States and having the experience that most Americans are open-minded and have their growth mindset, it's much easier for me to interact with those people.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that that's been your experience, and that,
Yeah.
that you know, that you've had more of that openness, experienced more of that openness from others. Great.
It's a cultural history, so Germans are not as open-minded as as people from other cultures.
Okay.
Are you from Germany?
Germany, yeah.
I'm too.
Who?
Yeah, Morsal's from Germany too.
Oh, okay.
Have you experienced the same thing, Morsal?
With what?
Carmen was just saying that well, Morsal, are you in the US or are you in Germany?
In Germany.
Oh, okay. So Carmen's experience has just been that that there's been a little bit more open-mindedness about the way she speaks English in the US than what she experienced in Germany. Is that, have you felt that a little bit more self-conscious about your English there? Or have you felt comfortable being able to practice and speak English as much as you want?
I'm a bit shy, but
yeah. Okay. Well, good. Then this is a good one for you, right? We just practice and we improve on that. Well, I'm proud of you if you are shy to be speaking up in this book club. Good for you. For getting that practice in. All right, good. Okay, so one thing that, let's see. So I know our hour is up, and we'll kind of wrap it up. One thing that I wanted to go over a little bit here before we end, we talk about, okay, well, then how do we change this mindset? How do we, what do we need to do? And Carol Dweck gives a 4-step journey at the end of the book of just how can we move more from that fixed mindset. If we do identify some areas that we have a fixed mindset, how can we move into more of a growth mindset? Step 1, embrace your fixed mindset. Recognizing that we all have parts of ourselves that are a fixed mindset is important, because that awareness, like Carmen was saying, her husband just didn't even care, or didn't, there wasn't that awareness there. So there was no growth if you are saying, well, I don't care, or it doesn't matter. Then, that wasn't necessarily embracing that fixed mindset. But Carmen has, embraced that in certain areas. And so she's been able to change that into more of a growth mindset. Step 2, become aware of your fixed mindset triggers. Okay, so maybe we're in social situations and someone says, can you repeat that? You're feeling all confident and you're feeling all sure of yourself, and then someone asks you to repeat something. It might be a trigger to you to then go back into that fixed mindset of saying, no, I don't want to try anymore. I don't want to do this anymore because I don't want to fail or say something wrong, or say something that isn't 100% correct. So maybe we have some triggers that create that mindset, that fixed mindset, or bring that mindset to us. And so identifying some of those triggers, like I was saying in that social situation, that there are certain social situations that I do get shy in, some that I'm very outgoing, but some that I am shy, and being able to identify, well, why do I pull back? What is happening in this situation that causes me to kind of get in more of a fixed mindset and get more self-conscious?
So this is now up to each person how to use those triggers. If you tend more to the growth mindset, you can use those situations to remember, what can I improve? For instance, in the pronunciation, what are the rules? Right? this certain situation, that person did not understand you, and then you can repeat your sentence and try to improve it, or you can just say, okay, let it go. I don't try anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. You have that, with that trigger, you have then that chance to decide, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that? Okay. So that might be a trigger. You can change that trigger if you tend to go this way, but you can decide, oh, I want to change the way I react to that.
Yeah, it can be a trigger in both directions.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love that. All right. This is funny. Step 3, give your fixed mindset persona a name. Okay. This made me laugh out loud when I was reading this, because my husband and I have actually already done this. So we had called this, early on in our marriage, we had identified that sometimes Dan is the name of my husband. He gets into this like, no, I don't want to learn. I don't want to grow. I just want to do what's comfortable for me. And whenever he would get into that mindset, I'd call him Stan. Stan. And so like I changed his name because it was almost like he was two different people, like sometimes he would be more of a growth-minded, willing to learn or willing to do some things. And sometimes he just wasn't, and he was very fixed in his mindset. And I named that person. And so sometimes she talks in the book about if you name that person, that those times that you do have that fixed mindset, and name it and identify it when that's happening, not as you, but as somebody else, that it can kind of create that, well, I don't want to necessarily be so much Stan or whatever you name it. Anyway, I thought this was a really funny thing. Did anybody kind of come across that at all? No. All right. Okay, and then the step 4, educate it. It meaning the fixed mindset persona. So we have to educate that person, that persona that we have that's more fixed, has a fixed mindset. So invite it to join us on this growth mindset journey. And here is a diagram that I thought was really helpful in the book. She goes through the fixed mindset pattern and the growth mindset kind of pathway, I guess I should say. So with fixed mindset, we have intelligence is static. Growth mindset, intelligence can be developed. Okay. Fixed mindset, with challenges, we avoid challenges. Obstacles, we give up easily. Effort, we see effort as fruitless or worse. Criticism, we ignore useful negative feedback. Success of others, we feel threatened when other people are successful. All right, so that's more of that fixed mindset. So the result of a fixed mindset then is that we plateau. Here, let me, is that we plateau, that we may plateau early. So say, we were kind of dubbed as a genius early on, and then we kind of feel like, well, now I can't try anything new because then maybe it'll affect the way I see myself. So we may plateau early or achieve less than our full potential. So there's that word potential that with a fixed mindset sometimes becomes more of a negative idea or concept. And all this confirms a deterministic view of the world, that things are set in stone. Okay, let's contrast that with the growth mindset, the way we want to kind of have the attitudes that we want to have about the way we can learn and grow. So intelligence can be developed. This leads to desire to learn and therefore a tendency to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see efforts as a path to mastery. So with criticism, we learn from criticism. We accept criticism, we look for criticism and we don't get defensive of it, but we know we can learn from criticism or correction. We find lessons and inspiration in the success of others. So I thought that was interesting, is instead of being threatened, that's more of a fixed mindset. We find inspiration from others who have succeeded. As a result, they reach ever higher levels of achievement. All this gives them a greater sense of free will. that we are in control of our destiny. We can choose what our path is going to be, and that people around us don't choose, but we have the ability to choose our own mindset and our own path. All right. Anybody have any thoughts on this before we wrap up a little bit? All right. So here's one thing I'm going to leave with you, a challenge. So we've, you've read parts of it. Maybe you want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper with some of these concepts. But what's one thing that you can do today to develop more of that growth mindset? So identifying the four steps to our journey. The first is kind of embracing your fixed mindset, kind of the areas that you have that fixed mindset. So all of us are going to have some areas of fixed mindset. So if you were able to kind of identify one of those areas, what's one thing you can do today to develop more of a growth mindset? So I am actually going to put you guys on the spot here. Radwan, what are you going to do? What's one thing that you can do today to develop more of a growth mindset?
I started a challenge that I started to think about something that I don't do usually, because either I'm afraid of or I feel it's out of my comfort zone. And when I find that extreme thing that I'll count till million before doing that, I identify that thing and try to go there and desensitize myself. Try to approach that thing and trying to do it. Stuff like, I got, for example, I got phobia from dogs. So I I give more time to be around dogs. So that give me a lot of learning. Like I learned that these pets are great animals. I can learn, they can be passionate, and it can increase my senses of animals and improve my, life and senses toward animals, and in a way or another that benefits my career and life. I guess it's nice to be to feel comfortable around things that we are not usually comfortable about, and that only can happen by challenging ourselves a little bit, pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone that we try to stay there for the most of the time.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, is that whenever we do feel uncomfortable, our natural tendency is to pull back or to avoid those uncomfortable situations. And it does take a certain mindset and mindfulness to say, you know what, that actually is scary for me or uncomfortable for me, but I know it's going to be good for my growth or good for my development. Like singing in front of 100 people or more people. It was that took some mindfulness to say, okay, this scares me, but I don't want to limit, I don't want to limit myself or my kids. So I need to put myself in this uncomfortable situation and do it. And then once it's done, you realize, oh, that wasn't as bad as I kind of pictured it in my mind. It usually isn't as bad, right?
Exactly. And it has a lot of other benefits. It's a lot of adrenaline rush there. And that's an icebreaker for your life.
Yeah.
You keep doing things that you don't usually do. And that makes you happy, I guess.
Keeps things exciting.
Yeah. Keeps you exciting right there.
All right, good. Carmen, what about you? What's the one thing that you can do today, start doing today, to develop more of a growth mindset in a specific area?
Well, every time something is new in my life, I'm kind of hesitant, like renting a car for the first time, or something that is very new. I'm kind of hesitant doing it, and I kind of try to avoid the situation. So now I have to learn to say to myself, okay, they don't bite, just do it.
Just do it. That's that phrase, Nike's phrase, just do it. I think about that a lot. It's brilliant. Just do it. I love that. Good, Carmen. Thank you. Okay, Morsal, what about you?
I don't really know.
It's one thing you can kind of start doing today, or something, a different way you can start thinking about something.
Tomorrow, I can maybe, I don't know, speak more.
Speak more. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So change that from tomorrow to today. I'm going to speak more.
It's not. It's late. Today I want.
Oh, it's late. Okay. Okay. We'll let you do it tomorrow then. Perfect. Okay. How about you, Nikita?
Yeah, I feel that I'll work towards more commitment and putting more efforts in order to achieve something.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, these days I'm practicing writing also. So in writing, so just every day I have to remind myself that I have to keep my efforts on, and in order to reach to that skill. When others can reach to that level, why can't I? So so to reach that level, I have to be in a very positive mind frame with commitment, with efforts, continuous effort to reach to that point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikita.
Yeah.
All right. And then Nawa?
Okay. It's mainly, the main point will be more of a self-assessment than anything else. But during this session, I remember one TED talk from, I think it's from Amanda Palmer.
Okay.
The art of asking. I know I watched it once, but I'm going to watch it one more time today. And on my as a part of the self-assessment, it's a brilliant TED talk. It's very, very growth mindset type of story. It tells us the TED talk. But if you want, I strongly recommend all of my friends here, just maybe spend 13 minutes of 13, 15 minutes. But she has more elaborative, I think it's a Google Talk or something. If you want to watch that, if you like it or want to watch that, just be careful if you have kids. She kind of uses a little bit of a, the words that
some strong language.
or the font English, you probably be aware of that. But yeah, I'm going to watch that, and the other thing I'm going to do is ask more questions.
Oh, okay.
Not finding the answer, but asking more questions. That would be my goal.
Excellent. So the TED Talk is called The Art of Asking?
Asking, yes.
Okay. I'm going to look that one up too. Art of Asking. Awesome. Ask more questions. I like that because, really being able to ask more questions and listen and learn, because that growth mindset, when you ask questions, it shows that you're ready to learn. You're ready to, and that's exactly a growth mindset, is how can I learn more with this situation? Oh, here, hold on. So you're muted, Nikita. I think you had muted yourself.
All right. Yeah. I was asking who was the speaker of this TED Talk?
Amanda Palmer.
Amanda Okay.
Palmer. Right?
Yeah, she's a singer, writer or something nowadays, but she tells her story when she started her career as she called herself a standing bride or something, 8-foot bride or something.
Okay.
I don't remember the whole story now, but that's why I'm going to watch it again, and it's brilliant and it's beautiful for the growth mindset.
Excellent.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Excellent. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. Lovely. I think Radwan found the annotation tools. All right, so thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad you are here and we're able to share your insight and your experiences with all of us. I hope this book was helpful for you and that you can kind of take this and be able to look at the areas in your life that maybe there is more of a fixed mindset, and that we can be more conscious of those areas and choose how we respond, what those triggers would be. Are we going to choose to have more of a fixed mindset, or are we going to choose to have more of a growth mindset in that situation? And that's the power of the human mind, is that we have the choice and we can choose. And that's what's so exciting to me. So thank you so much for sharing today. And I had kind of listed out what all the books were for the year, but I'll go ahead and announce on our private Facebook group kind of what February's is. I'll have to go back and look at my list. What February's is, so we can start reading that book, and then at the end of February we can join again and discuss it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Have a good day or rest of the evening or whatever it might be for you.
Yeah, have a good day to all of you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.